What if the most dangerous plants in America aren't hiding in the wild? They are growing right in your backyard, and you planted them yourself. Millions of homeowners across the United States have no idea that some of the most popular, beautiful plants sold at garden centers are actually restricted, regulated, or outright banned in multiple states. These aren't rare exotic flowers smuggled in from foreign countries. We're talking about plants you've seen at your neighbor's house, plants your parents grew up with, and plants you may have bought just last spring. State and federal agencies, from the USDA to local departments of agriculture, have been quietly cracking down on a growing list of backyard plants because of the very real damage they cause to ecosystems, native wildlife, and even neighboring properties. Today, we're breaking down 11 of those plants, what they look like, why governments want them gone, and what you can grow instead. Stay until the end, because a couple of these will genuinely surprise you. Plant 1. Kudzu, Pueraria montana. Let's start with the one that earned a truly terrifying nickname, the vine that ate the South. Kudzu was first introduced to the United States in 1876 as an ornamental plant, and then again in the 1930s when the U.S. government, yes, the same government now cracking down on it, actively encouraged farmers to plant it for erosion control. It seemed like a great idea at the time. It was cheap, it grew fast, and it held soil together beautifully. The problem? Kudzu grows at a rate of up to 1 foot per day, and can spread up to 60 feet in a single growing season. It climbs, it smothers, and it kills, blanketing trees, telephone poles, abandoned buildings, and anything else in its path. It doesn't just shade out native plants, it physically crushes them under its weight. Today, kudzu is classified as a federal noxious weed, and it's banned or restricted in multiple states including New York. If you live in the Southeast, you already know what this vine can do when it escapes a yard. If you live elsewhere, don't let it start. What to grow instead? Native vines like Virginia creeper or American wisteria provide gorgeous coverage without the ecological destruction. Plant 2. Japanese knotweed, Falopia japonica. If kudzu is the most dramatic invasive plant in America, Japanese knotweed might be the most stubborn. Introduced from East Asia in the 1800s as an ornamental plant, knotweed can grow up to 4 inches per day, reaching heights of 9 feet. But its real threat lives underground. It has a network of aggressive rhizome roots that can extend 60 feet horizontally, and they are strong enough to crack through pavement, break underground pipes, and push through the foundation of buildings. Getting rid of it is so difficult that professional remediation can take up to 4 years of persistent treatment. It's listed as one of the most problematic invasive plants throughout the eastern U.S., the northern Midwest, and the Northwest. Several states have it on their noxious weed lists, and it's banned for sale in places like New York. Here's an interesting footnote. Young knotweed shoots are edible and taste somewhat like rhubarb, but foragers are warned to be extremely careful about how they dispose of any plant parts, as even small fragments can reroot and spread. What to grow instead? Blue false indigo or Joe Pye weed give you height and visual interest without the infrastructure damage. Plant 3. English ivy, Hedera helix. This one shocks a lot of people, because English ivy is everywhere, sold in every garden center, used in hanging baskets, plastered across the walls of universities and cottages alike. It looks timeless and charming. But English ivy, brought over from Europe in the 1700s, is listed as invasive across the eastern U.S., Hawaii, and California. In the Pacific Northwest, it has been designated a noxious weed where it blankets entire stretches of forested land. The problem is that ivy spreads along the ground using underground stems called stolons, forming a dense mat that shades out every native plant beneath it. When it climbs trees, it can cut them off from sunlight and weigh branches down until they break. Its berries are carried by birds, spreading seeds further than you'd ever expect from a garden plant. It also creates dense cover that shelters rodents and insects. Once English ivy takes hold in a natural area, removal requires professional intervention. It does not go quietly. What to grow instead? Native ground covers like wild ginger, Virginia creeper, or kinnikinick provide similar low-growing coverage without the damage. Plant 4. Purple loosestrife, Lythrum salicaria. Few plants on this list look more innocent than purple loosestrife. Those tall, vivid purple flower spikes rising from the edge of a pond or wetland look like something you'd see on a nature calendar. But here's the truth. A single purple loosestrife plant can produce millions of tiny seeds, which spread through water, wind, and even on hiking boots. Once it establishes in a wetland, It forms dense, impenetrable stands that crowd out native cattails, sedges, and aquatic plants, the plants that ducks, fish, muskrats, and countless other animals depend on for food and shelter. Its dense root systems can actually change the hydrology of wetlands, how water flows through them. That damages water quality, reduces flood protection, and collapses biodiversity in some of the most sensitive ecosystems in North America. In Minnesota, possessing, importing, purchasing, or transporting purple loosestrife without a permit is classified as a misdemeanor. It's banned in Illinois under the Exotic Weed Act and restricted in dozens of other states. What to grow instead? Native blue flag iris or swamp milkweed give you stunning color near water without any of the damage. Plant 5. Japanese barberry, Berberis thunbergii. Japanese barberry is one of the most widely sold ornamental shrubs in American landscaping. It's colorful, low maintenance, and deer-resistant, which is exactly why it's been planted in millions of yards. But that deer resistance is also part of the problem. Because deer won't eat it, barberry spreads freely. It forms dense, thorny thickets that crowd out native plants and completely block light to forest understories. Its berries are eaten by songbirds, which then deposit seeds in natural areas far beyond your yard. And here's the detail that really gets people. Research has shown that Japanese barberry creates ideal humid microhabitats at ground level that are heavily favored by black-legged ticks, the ticks that carry Lyme disease and other tick-borne illnesses. Studies from Connecticut and other northeastern states found significantly higher tick populations in areas with barberry infestations. It's listed as invasive across much of the eastern and midwestern U.S., and is banned for sale in several states including New York. Maryland's Department of Agriculture added it to its prohibited invasive plants list in January 2026. What to grow instead? Native shrubs like ninebark, winterberry holly, or American beautyberry give you comparable color and structure. Plant 6. Burning bush, Euonymus elatus. Every October, people stop their cars to stare at burning bush. Its full foliage is one of the most brilliant reds in any landscape, which is exactly why it became one of the most popular shrubs in American gardening over the past few decades. But that beauty comes at a cost to surrounding ecosystems. Burning bush spreads readily through bird-dispersed seeds, and it has escaped cultivation into forests, roadsides, and natural areas across the eastern and midwestern U.S. Once it establishes, it forms dense thickets that push out native plants and disrupt the balance of forest understories. It's on the invasive species watch list in many states, and some, including New Hampshire and Massachusetts, have moved to restrict or ban its sale. The Conservation Foundation of Illinois also lists it as a plant sold widely today that poses growing environmental risk. What to grow instead? Native highbush blueberry or oakleaf hydrangea can give you spectacular full color while actually supporting local wildlife. Plant 7. Bradford pear Callery pear, Pyrus caleriana. Bradford pear was once considered the perfect urban tree, symmetrical, fast-growing, covered in white spring blossoms, and producing brilliant fall color. Cities planted them everywhere. Neighborhoods loved them. Then the problems started piling up. Bradford pears have weak branch structures that split apart during storms, making them a hazard and maintenance burden. Their flowers smell, and this is not an exaggeration, like rotting fish. But the biggest issue is ecological. Although the Bradford cultivar was bred to be sterile, it cross-pollinates with other Callery pear varieties, and the resulting seeds are dispersed by birds into natural areas. Those wild offspring grow into dense, thorny thickets, completely unlike the tidy ornamental tree you planted, that outcompete native vegetation and invade pastures and roadsides. South Carolina became the first state to ban the sale of Callery pear, taking effect in 2024. Pennsylvania has followed. Ohio, Indiana, and several other states have issued strong advisories. New Jersey recently added it to a list of 30 invasive species banned for sale and distribution. What to grow instead? Native Savisberry or Eastern Redbud offer gorgeous spring flowers with genuine ecological value. Plant 8. Multiflora rose, Rosa multiflora. Multiflora rose has one of the more ironic origin stories on this list. It was imported from Eastern Asia in the 1860s as rootstock for ornamental roses. By the 1930s, the U.S. government was actively promoting it. Farmers were encouraged to plant it as a living fence for livestock containment, and conservationists promoted it for erosion control and wildlife habitat. Decades later, it had become a full-scale ecological problem. Multiflora rose forms impenetrable, arching thickets with long, sharp thorns that take over pastures, forest edges, and roadsides. Its stems can reroot wherever they touch soil, creating sprawling colonies that spread in multiple directions simultaneously. Birds disperse the seeds constantly. It is now classified as a noxious weed in Ohio, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and several other states. In Indiana, it is illegal to move, plant, or distribute it without a permit. Illinois bans it under the Exotic Weed Act. What to grow instead? Native roses like Carolina rose or pasture rose provide similar habitat value for wildlife without the invasive spread. Plant 9. Japanese honeysuckle, Lonicera japonica. Japanese honeysuckle is seductive. Fragrant white and yellow trumpet-shaped flowers, beloved by hummingbirds and butterflies, blooming from late spring all the way through fall. It almost seems cruel that such a lovely plant causes so much damage. Native to East Asia, Japanese honeysuckle was introduced as an ornamental vine and quickly spread across roadsides, woodlands, and fields, particularly in the eastern and southern U.S. It twines aggressively around shrubs and small trees, smothering them. It's remarkably adaptable, thriving in sun or shade. It is banned under Illinois' Exotic Weed Act, making it illegal to buy, sell, distribute, or plant in the state. It's listed as invasive across much of the eastern U.S. and regulated in several other states. What to grow instead? Native coral honeysuckle, Lonicera sempervirens, is just as beautiful, just as attractive to pollinators and hummingbirds, and stays exactly where you plant it. Plant 10. Wisteria, Wisteria sinensis, Wisteria floribunda. Cascading purple flowers draped over an arbor or pergola. Chinese and Japanese wisteria look like something from a fairy-tale garden. They are among the most visually striking vines in any landscape. But these Asian species grow far more aggressively than their American counterpart, American wisteria. Their woody vines can become extremely heavy, strong enough to damage structures and pull down gutters, fences, and even small trees. They spread by runners and seeds into surrounding natural areas, and they are difficult to remove once fully established. Chinese wisteria and Japanese wisteria are both on New Jersey's list of 30 invasive species banned for sale and distribution as of 2024. They are restricted and on invasive species watch lists across much of the eastern U.S. What to grow instead? American wisteria, Wisteria frutescens, is a native species that produces beautiful purple blooms without the invasive spread. Problem solved. Same look, zero guilt. Plant 11. Garlic mustard, Alliaria petiolata. Garlic mustard might look like an unremarkable woodland plant, small white flowers, heart-shaped leaves. It doesn't have the dramatic color of loosestrife or the aggressive vines of kudzu. But it is one of the most ecologically damaging plants in North American forests, and here's why. It was introduced to North America in the mid-1800s as a medicinal herb and cooking plant. The leaves smell faintly of garlic when crushed, which is how it got its name. Young plants are actually edible, but once established, it exploits an important ecological trick. Garlic mustard releases chemicals into the soil through its roots that disrupt mycorrhizal fungi, the underground fungal networks that native trees depend on for nutrient absorption. By destroying these fungal systems, it weakens native trees and prevents them from regenerating. It begins growing early in spring, outcompeting native wildflowers before they even have a chance to emerge. It is listed as a noxious weed or prohibited plant in multiple states, and is considered one of the most serious threats to native forest understories in the Midwest and eastern U.S. What to grow instead? Native wild ginger or trillium provide beautiful, low-growing ground layer plants in wooded areas. Here's the most important thing to take away from today's video. The laws vary by state. There's no single federal law banning all invasive plants. Some of these plants are completely illegal to sell, transport, or plant in certain states, while in others, they are still sold openly at garden centers. Before you buy any new plant for your yard, the smartest thing you can do is check with your state's Department of Agriculture or your local agricultural extension office. These resources are free, reliable, and updated regularly as new plants are added to restricted lists. The reason governments want you to stop growing these plants isn't to control your garden. It's because invasive species cost the United States an estimated billions of dollars per year in ecological damage, lost agriculture, and remediation costs. And the average homeowner, choosing a plant from a shelf at a garden center, unknowingly becomes a distributor. Now you know. And knowing changes everything. If this video was helpful, give it a like, share it with someone who loves gardening, and subscribe for more content that helps you make smarter choices for your home and your community.